matchup as we get to watch Dignitas as they take on Tricked Esports, and here they are to share their thoughts.
Well, the recent roster swaps has been changing the whole European season a lot. The better teams has become a lot worse, and there's become one godlike team now in the name of Dignitas, and I think they're going to be the team to beat this season.
I think we have a lot of potential in Trick. As a team, Tricked Esports, it's attending LAN events. I think that's the main goal for us right now.
Yeah, so it didn't work out in the first phase of HGC for us that well. We didn't get the results that we expected. And so we basically decided that we needed to make a change. And the roles that people were able to play basically just facilitated me to play tank as opposed to another role. Ideally, I don't want to be switching roles again too much because I feel like, if anything, swapping roles has inhibited me from becoming the player I want to become.
Weird year, I would say. Started in open division, qualified with my team, Salads, and then ended up almost going to BlizzCon, and then somehow ended up in Dignitas, going to Gold Club and being top 2 there. So coming into next year, my hopes are very high, and I hope we can at least do top 2. Out of anything else would be a disappointment to me.
We bring back Rudy, and we took Polk, a new player. It's been actually really good since we play with them. Particularly with Webby, because we used to play with him, and he didn't have that much of a drive in the past. But now he's changed his mind and he wants to be one of the best, and so we can actually work together again.
I'm looking forward to stomping everyone and being the top 1 team. Maybe it won't happen, we'll see, but that's the plan at least.
See personality from Wubby.
I think you're mistaken.
I'm sorry. Am I dreaming right now? Am I awake? He wants to stomp everybody? That's not something that we saw from Wubby in 2017. And if this is a new Wubby, I'm already excited for 2018.
Definitely. If the team can motivate themselves throughout the entire season, then I think Dignitas is going to absolutely dominate at least the first half of the year. But there's a lot of teams that are already nipping at their heels and saying, hey, we believe we can make a difference. Tricked, we talked about them.
Sure.
Fnatic, of course, being another team. We have heard Team Liquid talk about how they feel they're going to be at least top 3, how they want to make sure that they maybe even get a little bit farther than that, so that's something to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. We saw on Friday Tricked Esports come out, and they really delivered. First game was a little bit iffy. It was on BOE, but once they got into game number 2 all the way to game number 4, they did not look back. Their synergy is on point. The team as a roster is working together. But Dignitas, the reason why this team is being talked about so much is in particular because of the players they have. Snitch, look at him. He is the most improved player in 2017. He has come together. He's brought his hero pool down just a little bit so he can really focus on the heroes that he wants to have. And this kid delivers on every single engagement that he's a part of.
Snitch is absolutely insane. I mean, he was topping the GM leaderboard in Europe. Zelia was on a vacation. He was on I think a skiing vacation. So the rest of Dignitas just absolutely use that time to practice in Hero League, get a couple of mechanical practice in, train new heroes. And Snitch topped on number 1 in the leaderboard with, I think at his maximum it was at 14,000 points at a time where Korea barely was able to push into the 5 digits, and I think NA was stuck at the moment at 8,500 roughly. He had a 3,000 or 4,000 point gap to the 2nd place. It was absolutely crazy. That kid is just so strong right now. It's unbelievable.
Stealing points and hopefully stealing wins today. Let's go ahead and move into the battleground here for game number 1 in the best of 5 series. You've been waiting all weekend, and we are ready to start it here. We're going to Infernal Shrines for game number 1. The bans will be Braxis Holdout and Volskaya Foundry.
Braxis and Volskaya being banned out. Okay, so it's also going to be interesting that we are on Infernal Shrines right away. Definitely a pretty cool map. Not really quite what we have started out with so far. Braxis banned again. We had only one single series where Braxis, in the European region at least, was not banned out. So we haven't seen the map yet. But Volskaya also banned, so I would say that when it comes to maps, this is going to be a very normal and standard European stuff.
Very popular trend compared to what we saw last year too, with Warhead Junction being banned out pretty often. But maybe a few months in, we'll get some unorthodox strategies that can come out on those battlegrounds. But for now, it's all about playing the standard maps. And Infernal Shrine was a standard map in 2017. This is one that is loved in the European region, mostly because of how you can really take your own playstyle to that battleground. You can be split push based, you can be on the shrines, you can go heavy aggression with maybe some Kerrigan, and I'm ready to see what our teams are going to bring.
I'm really interested in a few picks here, because we have a couple of heroes that have been played, but they have not really shot up to an involvement rate where you say they're a massive part of the meta, but they're really successful when they're chosen. Maltfield is a really good example, and that's also true across all regions. In Europe, Maltfield was picked 4 times so far, and he has 3 wins and 1 loss. If you look over at North America, they currently sit at a 4-1 win ratio, and overall he's at 10-3 across the globe. So Maltfield, when he's chosen, is really successful, and Tricked is one of the teams that have chosen Maltfield before on this map in particular, mainly to take some pressure away from their range damage dealers, and that might be a strategy that they're going to attempt to show here now too. But from Dignitas, we haven't really seen too much from their drafting yet, so that's definitely going to be something that we have to keep an eye on if they change what we currently perceive as the meta in Europe.
Continuing that point, have you actually drawn up the numbers as to when Maltfield was actually picked? Is it into always double warrior compositions? I know a majority of the reasons why you do pick him up there is you want to be able to get that Tormented Souls beyond the back line and be a threat. Is a majority of those matches where he's coming up in the 4th and 5th pick?
Yeah, overall, it's really interesting because it's very map dependent, obviously, and
sure.
I only know the specifics for Europe, but he oftentimes finds himself in situations where we have that strong solo lane, where you have a double warrior on the other side, and if a single objective forces you in these fights. Volskaya is a good example for it, where he oftentimes sees play. Infernal Shrines is another one. We've seen him played also on smaller maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen, so those are where he currently excels. And as we're heading into the draft here, we already have a couple of patterns that are also specific for Tricked. We talked about the high priority on Tyrael, exactly, and now we see exactly that again. When it comes to the bans, Abathur still very high in the bans, as is Genji. As I said before, Genji currently in Europe banned out in 80% of the games. I was actually a bit mistaken when I spoke earlier. The second ban percentage is not on the 27. Abathur is one that snuck in between. He's currently sitting at 60%. So he sees a bit of play. We've seen him actually play in one game, and that game he won, it was the game on Dragonshire, where Team Liquid played against the Leftovers. Outside of that, Abathur wasn't really played, but he's banned a lot. The team really respect the hero, and therefore he's immediately eliminated, which leaves Greymane and Hanzo both open. Dignitas opts in for Greymane first and leaves Hanzo over for Tricked Esports.
Now what I'm curious to see is if Team Dignitas tries to grab Arthas in this rotation. No, they're grabbing a Nubrak instead and the Malfurion. So there is a good chance Arthas could be banned out. Tyrael, Arthas were used a few times with Tricked Esports on Friday. It's one of their go-tos. It's been one of their go-tos for a long time with this team. It's their identity. Alex Aprogi loves to play some Arthas when he has the chance. And the synergy between Rimmer and Crosby with that Hanzo and that Tyrael was electrifying on Friday. I loved watching the Holy Grounds and how Hanzo would move around the fights, get the Sangs when need be to make sure they secure the kills. So watch for that in this battleground, as Tricked Esports shows why they prioritize Tyrael so much. In fact, they're making me a believer. This Tyrael has done well for them.
Yeah, and with what we're seeing in the draft now, so first of all, you're absolutely correct when you're talking about Tyrael here. It had a really huge impact so far. But another couple of things that we've seen from day 1 to day 2 is that Dehaka now is way more involved in Europe again. On the first day, he didn't really see a lot of play, and when he was played, he was not quite as successful. But now on the second day of HGC, Europe went back to the globals way more and dominated the macro game here. But there's another hero that is currently involved in the draft that I quickly want to point out. No, not Gul'dan. He's pretty strong too, but Nuburak is one of those sleepers that are sitting there as a very impressive win rate as well. He's currently doing exceptionally well, but he's not really picked all that much.
What's the win rate?
We have him currently on 75%, and especially in Europe, that is. So 4 games played, he won 3 of them. But when we're looking at his global stats, he's currently globally throughout HGC Europe, North America and Korea, he's sitting at 14-4. So it's 78% win ratio with 18 games played, which is pretty impressive. So Nuburak is definitely another one of these heroes that we see. We know they're strong, but they are not picked as much as you would expect with those stats.
Yeah, the glaring strengths that he brings isn't as adamant as you would in ETC, right? The power slides and knockbacks, forcing the fights away. Nuburak does give you that pick potential, though, that we've had from a lot of our teams, which does really require coordination. You have to make sure that you have the call, and you want to land that big web, and of course find the target that you want.
Exactly. The aggression with the Nubarak is always there, and the blow-up potential. If you have Li Ming Gul'dan after that, you can always go in and try to blow the target to pieces, and that happens a lot. So definitely something. Those are a few of the heroes that we have to keep our eye on. Malthael, Nubarak, Uther as well. Uther is actually absolutely crazy. He is involved in so many games. He has 19 wins and 4 losses if you look at his global performance. In Europe, Uther, at this point, sits at 4 wins and 0 losses. So as a support, pretty impressive stats here, and definitely something to keep in mind when we are going through these drafts in the future. So the first few days of HGC are already giving us a lot to talk about here.
Team Dignitas has brought that dive in that we were talking about that you need within a Nubarak if you want to force a kill. The Greymane and this Tracer will provide enough damage to get the pickoffs. Tricked Esports will have to do their best to defend that. They do have Rhaegar with the Ancestral Healing, and they do have a cleanse that can be helpful. Even on the web that's coming out, you can cleanse that before it disconnect, especially with the slower projectile. Tricked Esports now looking maybe for a little bit more of a durable front line here. What do you think we're going to get?
I'm actually surprised that we have not seen Arthur's picked. We haven't seen ETC considered by any of the teams here. So Dignitas heading into Nubarak, as we said before, and Leoric for the offlane. But 2 of the tanks that have seen the most involvement in Europe and also are pretty strong on Infernal Shrines have been ignored to this point, and I would assume that Tricked is going to pick one of the 2 up. I wouldn't mind them going into Arthur's here at all, against Greymane for the map as well. But they decided to play Tyrael as the main tank now and go into Malthael.
Whoa.
Now Malthael was a talking point a bit earlier. He's currently looking pretty solid, and it's also a hero that Tricked played on this specific map. But again, then also means that they are playing Tyrael right now as their main tank, and I would have really expected them to go into something a little bit beefier at the front, and Arthur's was usually a go-to for Tricked Esports, especially on Infernal Shrines, trying to get that position on the shrine itself. And facing off against Greymane, he is usually a pretty good hero to pick here too, but they went for the more aggressive version.
Yeah, they sure did, especially with them having a Falstad and a Hanzo here. That backline is going to be in a spot where if Greymane does get back there uncontested, they are going to be fearing for their lives. Falstad falls pretty quickly to Greymane, and so does Hanzo as well, both having very low health points. Good news is there is the disengage with the Mighty Gus, so if Make is on point with the side soaking and moving into a fight, they should be alright, but it is going to be a volatile matchup between our teams.
It definitely is, and it's starting to give us a first glimpse into how strong Tricked really is, because they looked really good, but now we're seeing them against Dignitas, and it gives us a feeling of, is Dignitas as dominant as everybody says? Is Tricked able to maybe take a few maps, maybe even the entire series? So I'm pretty hyped. This is definitely my favorite game of the day here, I have to say.
Well, we're getting ready here for game number 1 on Infernal Shrines. I do want to see if Tricked brings back that style that we saw on Friday where they're trying to find kills in the early game. They're actually willing to dive into forts to get the kills. Now, they were running double warrior at that point. They're kind of missing it here, but the Tyrael, the mobility that he brings allows for them to make those aggressive plays. We'll see if Dignitas will be ready for that if Tricked continues that type of trend.
And Tricked also is now in a setup. We have to come back to it because it was played in Korea on the first day. But if you lack a proper cleanse, you can always try to go for that Judgment and also the Hinterland Blast again. I doubt it's going to happen, but we always have to throw it out here. With Malfurion, you have, of course, Nature's Cure, so you can at least remove the stun, but it's not quite the same thing. You cannot properly cleanse out the entire Judgment or combo when it comes through. So that's something to point out here. Doubt that it's going to play a role, but we've seen it before, and I wouldn't put it past a few of the teams to watch the Korean games, look at it and say like, huh, you know what? I think we can pull that off too.
If they pulled it off in this game, I would be shocked. I would actually be impressed they got it there, just because of how Greymane's playing.
I doubt it too, but still, it's something that every single time I see the combo being picked, I'm like, what if?
We have to talk about that, just like we kind of have to talk about Cindergosa occasionally when Arthas is picked. You kind of have to throw it out there if they're ahead. It's very similar here in this fashion when it comes to the Judgment. Now, game is restarting real quick. We had a little bit of an issue. We will be jumping in soon. Don't worry, we're not delaying the amazing game just to add shock value or anything. I'm trying to get all set up and ready to go. Now, talking about players on Dignitas, one that we haven't mentioned yet is Poik. Poik was somebody who came in last year and was impressing everyone in Hero League. We saw him on the Team Zealots, and he really brought that team to a new level. Now that he's on Dignitas, it feels very natural with him and Snitch working together.
Yeah, they work together extremely well, and the communication is something that impressed me when we were in China in particular. So the way that they talk to each other, it's very reminiscent of how Team Liquid used to communicate when they said, hey, we don't need a dedicated shot caller. We're absolutely happy of just making sure that we as a unit know what we're trying to do, having that harmony there.
Yeah.
That's something that they excelled at. The main two that really talk and share opinions and voice ideas are Jay and Wobi. The two of them are constantly talking about, okay, what can we do next? What's next on the list? Whereas the rest of the team feeds in information and just make sure that they are painting a picture so everybody knows what's happening, which hero is on which lane, where do we need to be careful, which hero needs to maybe watch out and move back to the towers a little bit because there's a possible gang coming his way. So communication was something that was incredibly smooth, considering it was their first offline tournament and first real tournament together. And at that point, that of course has only improved.
So communication's gone up for Wubby. I'm just trying to like get a feel for how he's going in the team comps. Like seriously, this is actually a big deal for me because Wubby was quiet on Fnatic. He just made his plays and allowed it to happen, right? He was usually hanging back and just being that double soaker.
No. Wubby also in Fnatic chipped in communications quite a bit. But back then, Quarknix was really the one that was supposed to be the one that makes the final call and decision. Whereas right now, Wubby is still vocal in the comms, but he has a bit of a different role because him and Jay basically bounce off ideas and then make the decisions together. That's at least what we saw in China. Of course, that develops over time. But we're going to see more of that in the game now as we are heading into Infernal Shrines where we have two left. Tricked Esports with Muck on Falstead, Crosby on Hanzo, Alex the Frog on Malthael. We see Rema on Tyrael and Gran Paquete on Rega.
On the right in the red, the first look at Dignitas. Wubby will be playing Leoric. Snitch will be showing off the Grey main gameplay. JPL on a Nubrak. Gonna have Poik playing Tracer, and Zelia will be playing Malfurion.
It's going to be super exciting to see if Trick can stop, especially the mobility that we have on the side of Poik now with a Tracer rocking the money pick here. And this is going to be an interesting game for them as well. Tricked Esports currently sitting at a 100% win ratio with Malthael. They played him 2 times and were successful both of those times, especially on Infernal Shrines. They really like to play the hero. So it's definitely a favorite. And the same is true for Tyrael. So let's find out if against Dignitas of all teams, they can also get another win here.
Yeah, it's going to be... Even if they lose, it'll be fun to watch / examine how Tricked Esports is handling the situation going into game number 2, game number 3, and start to fall behind. Last year in 2017, when they would lose 1 or 2 games, you can start to see it in their gameplay a little bit. They were starting to kind of give up. And I want to see if they're going to have that diligence, constantly pushing the envelope, attempting to even come back against a great top-tier team like Dignitas. Poik already harassing Tricked Esports, coming in there, working for those pulse bombs. And you see Tricked Esports is aware of that potential dive that can come out from Dig. They are playing safe.
Yeah, and of course with Dignitas we have, as you said, that dive, we have that aggression, and that centers around Nuburak a lot. As we said before, he's not really a hero that is being played incredibly, like really a whole lot right now, especially in Europe. But if you look at his global stats, he's sitting at 14 wins and 4 losses, which is pretty impressive for the first weekend of play that we've seen here. Especially Korea really likes to go for him and have a fantastic win rate with him. So at this point, that's something to watch out for if Europe starts to play him a little bit more as well. But just to give an example, in Korea, Nuburak at this point is sitting at a 92% win ratio with 11 wins and only 1 loss. So he really excels at that aggression that we've been talking about.
Really expect to see more of that at Nuburak today with JPL and Breeze playing. Here's an invade on the Mercenary camp on the bottom side. Rimmer going to take some damage and a Pulse Bomb. Does get away, but they lose out on the Mercenary camp as Team Dignitas will snatch it away.
So far, Tricked is actually playing this quite safe, and I like it. They're making sure that they can't be jumped here. They have a lot of squishies on their side, and especially with Poik on Tracer, heroes like Hanzo and also Falstead have to be very careful. And the one thing that worries me a bit when I look at Tricked Esports and their setup is the lack of really hard CC that they have. They got a couple of slows in, but not really a whole lot of stuns to punish Tracer when she tries to go in deep.
Yeah, you have the Dragon's Arrow, but the hitbox is quite small. You may actually have to aim for another hero that Tracer is nearby to land it.
And it's also an ult that you have to sacrifice.
Exactly, true. Holy Ground will be huge later on, but Tricked Esports going to be hurting until then. For now, we're getting ready for our first shrine of the game. It will be spawning in the middle in about 10 seconds. Dignitas are already on their way to the Merc camps in the top right corner. And I like the position by JPL. This allows for him to notice where their opponents are. They see there are 3 top. If they disappear, they can go for an invade. Let's see if they do so. Yeah,
and also we have a few adjustments. And when we're looking at builds here, as we already have a bit of a fight over the first shrine, we're going to come back to those builds in just a bit. But keep an eye on Malfurion and his level 4 for now, where we see the Strangling Mines. So definitely adapting here. Here comes JPL already trying to dive in deep and misses the stun. Remaballer immediately replies, Whoopi is in trouble and he's down. Leoric eliminated as Trick gets the first kill of the game.
Yeah, they turn it around and Void gonna back up. Wubby can come back soon, getting that trait value, but this gives time for Tricked Esports to work on grabbing a few minions while they can. Snitch doing his best to drop in a few cocktails to steal a few, but the lead is very apparent. 23-15 for Tricked Esports, but here comes Leework back.
Wubby is back to business, and that's, of course, once again, the trade value that you have right there. Snitch needs to go back, already a bit low, but Alex gets rooted.
Alex?
The strangling minds of Malfurion coming into play here. The bomb is in, and down he goes. Malthael is dead, but the counter kill against Tracer.
Okay, making up for it there with Leework getting low. Final attack coming in from Grandpa Kid. It's going to help out, but Crosby in trouble. He jumps over the wall to back away. 33-27. It's close in the first shrine.
Tricked is putting in the work here at this point. Snitch is also a bit low. And there goes the Punisher. Arcane Punisher taken, and Tricked Esports is on the move there, going for Snitch, and they get him. 4 kills against 1. Tricked is coming out swinging in game number 1.
Big scatter arrow coming in from Crosby to secure that takedown. Make helping out with the chase as well, and you're right, they are coming out swinging. Level 7 to level 6, Punisher already pushing in the middle. Multiple members in the top lane, so Tricked can maximize the experience they get out of this rotation. They are doing beautifully here.
Impressive start by Tricked. Make has been talking about how they haven't played against Dignitas for a long, long time. Since obviously, when we talk about practice games, the teams that know that they will face off against each other on the weekend, that they don't meet and practice against them. So in this case, a lot of strategies already hidden. And I'm impressed by this opening from Tricked. We're still in the early game. We have no heroic abilities, but what we are seeing from Tricked Esports right now looks very solid.
I gotta call out Make. Make looking great here on the Falstad. I've been a little bit critical of his Falstad here and there whenever I get a chance to watch it, but he's been bringing that aggression in, and that level 4 talent is helping him out dramatically here. That static shield, dropping it on the Tracer, forcing her to either recall or get away from the fight, and he is willing to pursue her while she has that static shield popping in and getting the defensive abilities up while giving him aggressive tendencies.
I also wanted to talk a bit about the level 4 talent for Malfurion. I mentioned that earlier when the fight was about to start. They're having Strangling Minds taken now, so it's all about reducing the heal that a source can receive, and that is very important once that Rhaegar has his level 10 in particular. So first of all, it indicates already that when you get the lockdown with the roots onto a target, you really try to blow that target up as fast as you can. And against Rhaegar, this talent is a fantastic choice, because oftentimes you will find that Rhaegar is the one to quickly throw out the heal with a panic button to save the target that is being jumped, and Strangling Vines on Malfurion is going to make this so much harder. So a very cool choice over what we've seen so far, where it's mostly about increasing the duration and the radius of the roots.
Oh, we'll keep an eye on those roots. For now, Dignitas has done their best to stay in the game here. A little bit behind experience, about a half level, but they've been aggressive in the top lane, breaking down a couple of turrets, get some experience here, realizing they need to get some back after their deaths. But oh no, another death comes in as Dignitas has Void getting caught. Malthael even comes in with a Tormented Souls, question mark on that one.
That looks like a misclick. That looks like, hey, I'm going to choose my ult with a hotkey. Oops, I pressed it twice.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Those happen. Well.
And it's actually funny that it happened to Alex.
His daily Reddit thread coming in. All right, well, Dignitas going to have Snitch back. They have gotten to 10 here, and they haven't lost too much. They got some damage on the fort in the middle. Wubby even a miss and a tomb. A little spaghetti right now from our teams.
Such a nice guy, Wubby. He sees that Alex misclicks and uses his ult and he says, like, don't you worry, I'm going to even up the score. I'm going to use mine as well.
Well, there it is.
Nah, I mean, jokes aside, it happens. It's definitely a bit of an issue here with Alex misclicking that by accident. It's not really going to be in time for the shrine, which is the biggest problem. For Wubby, it's not that much of a deal. First of all, yes, he misses the entomb, but that could have been a potential kill. And also the cooldown, of course, is much lower, so he will have it back for the next shrine. But Alex not having Tormented Soul for another couple of seconds, that's actually a massive issue here.
Yeah, from them not having that heroic, it means that they won't be able to take the team fight in the early stages of the shrine. They'll have to wait a few more seconds, and they may have to take it towards the end. And if Dignitas gets a lead, it becomes difficult.
Rotation to the bot lane. They're actually trying to trap Falstad. Dignitas is trying to trap Make here, and if Make doesn't take the safe play... Okay, so here comes their commitment, even for the structures, and Make immediately returns and makes sure that he stays there at least for experience. The rest of the team is already busy up at the shrine. And Dignitas not capitalizing on the cooldown that was missing from Malthael. Well, didn't know that there was still a couple of seconds there. Even Gus being used to buy a bit of time, because up at the top lane in the meantime, Tricked has now started to go for the fort themselves, and they have a pretty big push going there with the camp that they already took earlier. So they start to make the move for the keep itself. And let's not forget, the shrine itself is at the top, so the Punisher is going to move through the top lane too.
Yeah, some may question that Mighty Gust, and I'm glad that you pointed it out. The reason why that Gust came out was to buy 3 to 4 more seconds to make Dignitas decide if they want to continue pushing. And if they did, Tricked Esports knew they were in a position to get more out of it. They grabbed the fort and grabbed that keep wall turret, and they already have a nice lead on the Shrine. That was a great Gust.
And Gust is back in another not even 20 seconds, so they will have it ready for the next fight. Trick definitely got more out of this situation. They eliminated the fort before the Punisher is even taken. They also damaged the wall, and the only thing that Dignitas got is the wall at the bot lane. So it was more or less an even trade in structures, a little bit favored for Trick, but at the same time they are now also moving through the top lane with the Punisher itself, and that starts to threaten the keep.
The good news for Dig on that trade is at least they get towards level 13. The experience was pivotal, so at least they can fight now.
Exactly. So they have level 13, and Wooby is also down in the bot lane, even pushing in a little bit harder. But right now, if I'm Tricked, I'm looking for the keep.
Let's see if they can get it here. Leo on the bottom, falls in the middle soaking. Either can come back soon here to help out with the defense. Alex Aproji lead the charge with Rimmer, looking for the keep. They need the minions to get a little bit closer before they commit. Make flies in to help.
Make is already here right now. They want the keep and they're going for it hard. There's the Gust to secure the keep. Also means they're going to have a bit of trouble moving back though, so they need to be careful here. But they will get the keep if they commit, but it's low and it will fall. The keep is down and immediately Tricked is trying to move back. But keep in mind, they used Gust to buy those extra seconds to commit to the keep. Here comes the Entomb double, and immediately Alex turning around, gets the bomb, Tracer can take him down. The arrow hits and it hits hard. Alex is in, Ancestral coming through as well. Dignitas is trying to turn in again and make sure that they commit to the fight, and here comes the quick Cocoon.
But Trick didn't get a kill, and that's where Dignitas is going to seize the opportunity. The Cocoon on Fawcett into the root, and there it is. The bird is down. Wubby trying to find another target, can't quite get close enough, but Dignitas at least answer back.
But I really like what Trick did. Once that the Cocoon came out, they said, okay, he's dead. Move away, just let him die, it doesn't matter. We do not have Gust anymore. We have used most of our heroic abilities. If we try to save Falstad, we are all gonna fall, or at least way more than only a bird. So in this case, they trade the keep for Falstad, and that is a trade that I would take any day of the week.
Dignitas making a move here to get ahead in experience. Big pulse bomb on Crosby. He will live, turns around and brings out an arrow. Alex Aproji going straight for JPL, puts some damage on, but most importantly, they're trying to save this fort. If Dignitas grabs this fort, they're going to be jumping immensely into level 15, getting that experience lead.
Dignitas has done a fantastic job when it comes to simply staying ahead in experience. So they always push the bot lane, and they're going up against the global. But they're doing so well soaking this lane experience and always having Wooby on Leoric in a good position. But I really enjoy how Tricked is playing this. No matter who wins this first map and the series, I'm already impressed by how Trick performs here. We've said that on the first day when they played against the Zealots, and they looked strong there, but now they are going up against a very different beast. So Tricked with definitely a lot of potential in this phase, for sure.
Yep, it's only game number 1, but they're showing that they can at least hang here with Dignitas. The question starts to come in as to what happens to Trick if they start to fall behind.
Yes.
Dignitas finds that moment. That's the old Trick that we remember. They would have these great games, but suddenly 1 or 2 mistakes and they would just crumble. Can they stay composed?
Yeah, Alex here is caught by the Entomb, but Gust comes out. Oh, the arrow as well from Hanzo. So not quite on the same page with the movements here.
I actually kind of wonder if they were trying to do that on purpose to get the extra stun range on the Hanzo, and then they can have the Malthael move into the engage, but they didn't get the auto attack onto a target to where Malthael could jump in.
Yeah, I would also hear a whole lot of these cooldowns back for the next fight over the objective. But one point that we haven't risen yet is Tricked has now the option to completely change their MO in this game. They have a very aggressive at the start, they chose their moments wisely, and then they had a great rotation in the macro game towards the top where they caught the Punisher and also eliminated the fort, went for the keep and took it down. That allows them now to play their ace in the hole, their fallstack part, a lot better. So it's definitely something that we could see them perform here now, trying to play the macro game more than the aggressive style on the map.
They are making a big play in the macro game that you're talking about by getting top pushing in with the Night Camp. Catapult's pushing in as well. He put damage on Leoric, so he has to back up and heal and at least tap, which makes things a little bit easier for them on that push in the top side. Now it's a little bit difficult for them to move into the area of the Shrine.
They need 16.
Already have a lead.
They don't have 16 yet. Finally it kicks in. Falsa was trying to get another wave top lane. And overall, Dignitas has the better rotations on the map. But still, the lack of a keep is a problem for Dignitas because the top lane pushes hard. Here comes the fight finally. Poik is low and in trouble. Sanctification already used. Cocoon is also out and blown away as Alex goes in once again. Once that he had the Torment Souls used, we saw Cocoon, and now we have them on the Shrine. And in the meantime, the top lane pushes towards Dignitas core.
Yeah, Trick has a few more seconds too before recall's even up, so they're okay here with the trade, taking as much as they can. 26 out of 19. Now it's getting a little dangerous with recall coming back up for Tracer and her getting topped off. So they back up and try to get a concave.
At this point, Alex is just looking for the opening. Remaballer low in mana. That's a massive problem. Here comes the heal. Great heal comes through. Snitch is low and he goes down. Greymane is dead. The counter kill against Alex. Malthael is down. Dignitas is losing the shield on the core in the meantime, but they get the Punisher.
They get the Punisher, which will give them a chance to run back and deal with these catapults. Well, 4 of them are hitting the core down to 70%. It's going to get a little bit lower here before Wubby can clean that up. The rest of Dignitas elects to go ahead and push in the middle.
That's a 50% core right now. That was rough. And Tricked still, they don't have Gust. They should be able to defend here though, but the Punisher was not baited properly over the wall. So that could do a whole lot of damage. Alex is trying to get, or Emma is trying to get out of here. Leoric is still up at the top. Experience lead goes to Dignitas, but losing 50% on your core, that's a huge problem because that can always lead to a backdoor attempt on the side of Tricked, especially with Tyrael in the mix.
Yeah, certainly with Tyrael. Good news is they have a Malthael, which isn't the best courser, but that fall set will bring in those auto attacks certainly there with the Seasoned Marksman. Dignitas with this push, we're hoping that they could get a keep. They get it down to a little under quarter health, but it still stands here. So Tricked Esports doesn't have to worry about catapult pressure.
It's such an awesome game here. I'm really loving this. And I am impressed by how well Dignitas does in these rotations. Gust does not too much here. Grandpa on the move back, and here comes the Cocoon. They want the kill. Dignitas wants this kill. They're even looking for marker. Alex jumps in, tries to do what he can with the Tormented Soul. Sanctification is already out. Dignitas wants a kill at this point. Wubby is so low, and Alex jumps in once again, and he's about to get him. Leoric is down. JPL falls too. Tricked gets the double kill.
They're looking at Poik too. Poik turning around, thinking about the fight, but with no main front line, they really can't move forward. Goes forward and engage. Big sounds come in. Poik gets a kill anyways. Ancestral Healing came out, but it missed. Alex Aproji also gets picked up. Team Dignitas is winning this with 3 members. They're going to get another kill.
3 versus 5, and Poik just completely popping off here. Snitch now moving in as well. Remaballer on the move back at 3-for-3 on the map here. Unbelievable. Trick goes in, gets 2 kills, but then all of a sudden it's just Poik on Tracer, and they are getting a keep thanks to that action.
Absolutely impressive. Xaylia landing the Twilight Dream that opened that opportunity. Ancestral Healing just slightly too late with the damage coming out from both Greymane and Tracer was too much for Trick to handle, and we have a game on our hands. Grabbing the keep in the middle lane, catapult pressure in the middle. We're going to late game.
Both of these teams look fantastic right now. Individual mistakes on both sides for sure, but most of them forced by the opponent. Right now, Dignitas having a lead when it comes to experience, and a significant one at that. And that comes back to those impressive rotations on the map that we've seen them perform. Wubby the entire time, making sure that he gets the soak. Falls that didn't have quite the impact when it comes to experience soaking that Trick was hoping for. We've seen great gusts and very good kills out of him, but overall there's still a little bit to work on. But that top lane is always a problem.
And now Dignitas finds himself with a massive lead, about to hit level 20. It's right around the corner. Tricked Esports may elect to try and force a fight now. They do have the tools to do so. Dragon Zero, Mighty Gust, even Tormented Souls going in with the Sanctification could allow for them to do so, but Dignitas is playing safe enough that they can't find the opportunity. They're going to wait, grab Merc Camp, and have that pushing in top.
If they can pressure the top lane, that would be really impressive, but it's actually problematic for, it's a huge problem for Trick that the Shrine spawns at the top lane now. It's good in the sense that they still hold their keep at the top, so it will delay the Punisher and the aggression a bit if Dignitas grabs it, which is very likely considering their level 20 advantage. But it also means that they can't properly use the global to push the top lane and force someone on Dignitas' side back, since Dignitas can just simply take control of the top lane, of the Shrine, and push the waves out to eliminate the catapults at the same time.
Yeah, the cards are definitely in the hands of Dignitas right now, and they know it. They put Leoric on the top side. You usually want to have your side laner or even Greymane grabbing those, and with Leo being on the top, he's fine. The rest of them be in the middle. Just need to make sure not to get caught out as Alex goes in for a little bit of a harassment. Poik even goes in for the pulse bomb. Boy, Alex Aproji I want to deal with that again.
Yeah, that was actually a rough one. So far, Grandpa is not throwing the Ancestral out, saving the cooldown here. Oh, Snitch! Nice job here, trying to get the kill with a cocktail. That didn't quite work out. But I'm impressed by Tracer, first of all, by Poik's performance to try and get the kill against Malthiel, and at the same time, the calm and cool demeanor of Grandpa, who just looks at Malthiel and is like, nah, you're fine. I don't need your Ancestral, you're good. So they saved the cooldown, which can be a huge game changer in the upcoming fight.
20 is right in the corner for Tricked Esports. Falset is working on grabbing it on the bottom side, and Dignitas is pushing the envelope as much as they can. They got the mini wave pushing on the top. They have a Punisher coming down the lane, but they've already brought all 5 in. Gonna be a massive Entomb with the silence on top of Tyrael. Ancestor Healing does come out. Remember, we'll still have Signification in about 5 seconds so we can turn around the fight. Malthiel going in. Can he live?
Cocoon came too late here to stop the Ancestral, but Whoopi in the backline taking Hanzo down. Can he live though? It doesn't look like it, but they don't properly focus him. Whoopi moves out. That was a sure kill, and Trick just did not commit properly to drop him here. So we have Leoric still in the fight.
Dignitas looking at a core now. If they find another kill, they can certainly do it. And they do. They find the big pickup here, looking for the pick on Rhaegar. Signification will save him for now. Wubby on the backside. Alex and Proji still dancing around. Can he take out Wubby? Wubby is still alive, and the core is falling.
Core is falling, and at this point, Dignitas has it in the bag. They win game number 1. Impressive performance by Dignitas, turning the late game around and securing the first win of the series.
A great game to start our day.
There's so much to talk about here as well. First of all, the kill against, or the pressure on Tyrael, thanks to the level 20 upgrade on Entomb. That was the first thing that happened here. The silence that did not allow Tyrael to either jump out or use Sanctification.
Sure.
Then immediately, the roots on the ground, and Rhaegar waiting until the roots were about to disappear just so that he can commit to the Ancestral without the level 4 Talender of Malthiel completely reducing the healing amount. At the same time, we saw a Nubarak trying to get the Cocoon onto Rhaegar, but it was just a second too late. Ancestral was already out there. And I really feel that if they take down Leoric, they might still have a chance. But Leoric walks away after the kill against Hanzo. It would have been tough either way to pull that off, but there was definitely a bit of miscommunication. 3 heroes around him, everybody could have delivered a final blow. Nobody did, everybody thinking the other 2 will take care of it as they move away, try to go to the Nexus to top up the health. Also, a Gust would have been fantastic as the Entomb drops down. The problem was that Falstad came in late and had to come in late
because he was getting 20.
Exactly, he needed to go to, he was at the bot lane 420, he needed to get that, but this is just one of those moments. If they hit that 20, let's say 5 seconds earlier, if they get another wave, if they're a bit better soaking the experience, then Falstad is not at the bot lane, then he's with the team, and then the Entomb probably never happens, and if it does, a simple Gust saves the day.
And while a great ending, we still have to talk about that 3v5 that we had. Kind of a 4v5 with Wubby being in his Leoric trait mode, but still, the Malfurion Twilight Dream into Tracer and Greymane, turning around that fight and finding the pickup, and also making the Ancestor Healing not connect, which meant it was not up for 10 seconds, forced Tricked Esports, who were in a dominant position that could have pushed forward and got a forward, to actually back up and gave Dignitas a nice lead. That was brilliant to see.
Yeah, so far, I really think that through the changes that we had in the lineups, we could see at the GCWC already a bit, but Zelia definitely a huge upgrade here. The plays that he already made, it's insane. It's absolutely crazy. He had insane moments on Lucio at GCWC where he booped Tyrael Sanctification several times. Now we see him with an initiation into a 3 versus 5, for example. So that was incredibly well played on his part. And overall, just from both teams, we have players that made so many great plays here. And I'm still impressed by Tricked. Dignitas performed on the level where we kind of expected them. Of course, they played fantastic.
Sure.
And it might not always be fair, but we expected Dignitas to play fantastic. So they turned it around, and it was a huge effort. And I think a lot of it came really down to the way they understand rotations and that they don't lose out on experience.
Yeah.
Because even with the
Staying
global,
matched.
even with the global, when we had the keep, remember the keep fell at the top lane. That means we have 2 walls destroyed, a fort, and a keep. and Dignitas was still ahead in experience. Just slightly, but considering that at that point in time, they only destroyed a single fort on the map, that was insanely impressive. So that also means that there's a massive potential for Tricked, because if they manage to miss out on less experience on those waves, so all of a sudden they will, thanks to the moves they made overall, be ahead in experience, hit the 20, maybe at the same time, maybe faster, but that played a huge role that they didn't have the Storm talent. So game one already absolutely amazing.
Lots of things to learn in game number one. If you have the chance